In April 2022, Nike sold virtual sneakers. No soles, no laces, no delivery, starting at prices as low as $250. They sold out in minutes. What did buyers get? A blockchain-backed digital asset and a 3D rendered image. But behind this seemingly absurd sale is a deeper story about digital scarcity, psychological desire, and how billion-dollar brands learn to monetize virtual identity. In this video, we'll unpack how we got here, why people pay real money for unreal things, and what it tells us about ownership, value, and identity in the digital age. In April 2022, Nike made headlines with a sneaker drop that didn't include physical sneakers. Through its recently acquired digital design studio, RTFKT, Nike released the Nike Dunk Genesis Crypto Kicks, a collection of 20,000 virtual shoes, purely digital and non-wearable, with prices starting around $250 and some reselling for thousands. There was no box, no shipping, and no chance you'd ever put them on your feet. Still, they sold out in less than 10 minutes. What people bought wasn't a shoe, but an NFT, a digital token proving ownership of a 3D rendered sneaker usable in virtual spaces like metaverses. For many, it seemed absurd. But for others, it was the logical next step in a culture already obsessed with rarity, brand loyalty, and digital identity. This moment didn't just confuse outsiders, it marked a turning point in how we define ownership and value. RTFKT Studios started in 2020 with a provocative mission: create virtual fashion for a digital-first generation. Pronounced Artifact, the brand was founded by three creatives blending gaming, crypto culture, and luxury streetwear aesthetics. Before Nike came calling, RTFKT had already gone viral for its cyberpunk sneakers, AR filters, and digital collectibles worn by avatars in online games. They weren't just designing digital goods, they were designing digital status, and it worked. In less than 2 years, RTFKT built a community of artists, gamers, and collectors eager to flex their digital finds. When Nike acquired them in December 2021, it wasn't a gimmick. It was a bet on the future of brand engagement, one where physical products weren't necessary to sell identity. To understand how digital sneakers could sell out in seconds, you have to understand the psychology behind sneaker culture. For decades, brands like Nike, Adidas, and Jordan have turned limited edition shoes into high-demand status symbols. Drops became events. Lines formed overnight. Resale markets exploded. A $200 pair of shoes could fetch thousands within hours. This wasn't just about footwear. It was about belonging, flexing, collecting. The sneakerhead economy transformed from casual hobby into a multi-billion-dollar industry fueled by scarcity, storytelling, and identity. So when digital sneakers entered the scene, the behavior didn't need to change. Only the medium did. The hype machine was already running. For years, sneaker culture had been drifting away from functionality and into symbolism. People weren't buying shoes to wear. They were buying them to post, to archive, to resell. The object became a digital avatar long before NFTs arrived. Instagram unboxings replaced sidewalk sightings. Marketplace listings became more important than the soles themselves. This shift set the stage for a strange but inevitable leap, from real materials to rendered pixels. If flexing a sneaker pic mattered more than walking in it, then why not cut out the physical product altogether? The mindset was already digital. NFTs just gave it structure, scarcity, and blockchain-backed receipts. When someone buys a sneaker NFT, they're not purchasing a physical shoe. They're purchasing a token, specifically a non-fungible token, or NFT, which is a unique digital certificate stored on the blockchain. It says, "This 3D rendered sneaker, this digital asset is yours." It's verifiable, traceable, and resellable. The value isn't just in the image, it's in the proof of ownership and potential uses, like displaying the sneaker on avatars in metaverses or accessing exclusive brand experiences. You don't get manufacturing rights. You can't stop others from screenshotting it, but you do get a blockchain entry that proves you own the original. That's the psychological and economic leap: ownership without control, value with digital utility. In many ways, it mirrors how sneakerheads already treated real shoes, as objects to be seen, not used. If the NFT market felt familiar to longtime sneakerheads, it's because the mechanics were almost identical. Limited edition, artificial scarcity, community access, timed drops that rewarded speed and insider knowledge. NFTs borrowed the entire playbook from sneaker culture, right down to the thrill of getting something rare before it was gone. The hype wasn't just about what was being sold, it was about being part of the moment. And in both cases, owning the item became less about use and more about being seen owning it. That performance of exclusivity, taste, and timing is what drives desirability. In this way, NFTs didn't reinvent hype. They digitized it. It may seem irrational to pay hundreds or thousands for a digital file you can't touch, wear, or prevent others from copying, but our brains don't care about material boundaries. We form emotional attachments to avatars, to usernames, to virtual pets, and digital homes. Ownership for many isn't about control, it's about connection. NFTs turn digital objects into trophies of identity, proof of taste, and participation in a cultural moment. It's less about possession and more about presence. And in an online world where we spend hours curating our image, a digital sneaker can mean just as much, or more, than the one in your real closet. In a world dominated by social media, status is a visual game. Just like luxury watches or rare sneakers, NFTs became digital symbols of exclusivity. A Bored Ape as a profile picture, a virtual Gucci bag in Roblox, a limited edition sneaker NFT on OpenSea. These were all ways to say, I was early, I belong. Especially for younger generations raised in online spaces, digital flexing became second nature. Fortnite skins, Instagram filters, and now NFTs. They all serve the same psychological function, signaling identity, taste, and tribe. And just like physical fashion, their value isn't intrinsic, it's social. Part of what made NFTs so enticing wasn't just the ownership. It was the vision of where that ownership could go. Buyers weren't just collecting static images, they were investing in digital futures. In spaces like Decentraland, the Sandbox, or Roblox, your avatar is your identity, and the hope was that these NFT sneakers could be worn, traded, or displayed in metaverse environments. While the metaverse remains in early development, with full interoperability still unrealized, that promise made each purchase feel like a stake in the next internet. Whether or not that vision fully materializes, it gave buyers a sense of purpose beyond speculation. They weren't just buying art, they were buying a future self. As NFTs gained momentum, traditional brands didn't dismiss the trend. They doubled down. Nike, Adidas, Gucci, and countless others saw digital goods not as a gimmick, but as a frontier. These weren't just new products, they were new platforms for customer engagement. Virtual drops became marketing moments. NFTs became loyalty tools. Brands began exploring ways to blend physical and digital, like offering real-world perks to NFT holders. For example, Adidas collaborated with Bored Ape Yacht Club in 2021, releasing NFTs that included physical merchandise. Gucci sold digital accessories in Roblox, like a virtual Dionysus bag priced at $4,115 in Robux in 2021. In doing so, they weren't just selling merchandise, they were selling identity, access, and community. And in a digital-first world, that kind of brand connection may be the most valuable product of all. Scarcity has always created value, but with NFTs, scarcity became programmable. Unlike physical products that require materials and manufacturing limits, NFTs are constrained by code. Creators can mint 1,000, or just one, and the fewer there are, the more desirable they seem. This artificial scarcity taps into the same psychology as limited sneaker drops or luxury handbags. It's not the product, it's the access. Even if the digital file can be copied endlessly, the token, the proof, remains unique. The illusion of rarity becomes a very real driver of price. It's manufactured exclusivity, and we're wired to chase it. As NFTs exploded, brands raced to plant flags in virtual soil. Gucci released a virtual Dionysus bag in Roblox in 2021, priced at $4,115 in Robux, briefly outvaluing its physical counterpart. Adidas teamed up with Bored Ape Yacht Club for an NFT collection that sold out in minutes in December 2021, bundling digital assets with physical apparel. Even Coca-Cola launched wearable digital jackets for avatars in 2021. These weren't just experiments, they were early attempts to build presence in the metaverse. Each item was a kind of digital product placement, not for mass use, but for niche identity signaling. Brands weren't just selling things, they were embedding themselves in the future geography of attention. Buying an NFT isn't just a transaction, it's often a game. Drops are designed like quests, limited access, random rewards, exclusive communities. The thrill is engineered. Each click triggers anticipation, each rarity, a potential lottery win. This kind of gamified consumerism mirrors techniques used in mobile gaming, dopamine loops that keep people coming back, loyalty programs, point systems, hidden Easter eggs, all deployed to maximize engagement. For consumers, it turns shopping into story. For brands, it creates a new kind of stickiness. not just buyers, but players. And once you're playing, it's hard to stop. For early adopters, NFTs weren't just collectibles, they were digital trophies. A way to say, I was here, I believed early, I belong. This sense of identity turned ownership into signaling. Influencers made their avatars into brand extensions. Entrepreneurs added NFT holdings to their Twitter bios. The blockchain became a kind of resume, one that proved your taste, status, and cultural fluency. In Web3 culture, proof of stake wasn't just about finance, it was social capital. The NFT you owned said as much about you as the watch on your wrist or the shoes on your feet. Scarcity, hype, and identity all feed into one of the most powerful forces in consumer psychology: FOMO. The fear of missing out isn't just emotional, it's measurable. Research by Kahneman and Tversky on prospect theory shows that loss aversion, the pain of missing a gain, can be twice as strong as the pleasure of getting it. NFT drops weaponize this bias. Timed releases, limited supply, secondary market spikes, all designed to create urgency. Add social media to the mix, where people flex their wins and exclusive access, and the pressure builds fast. You're not just missing a product, you're missing a moment, a tribe, a chance to matter. By late 2022, the NFT market hit a wall, prices collapsed, trading volumes dropped over 90%, and many so-called blue-chip collections lost nearly all their value. Nike's virtual sneakers, once resold for thousands, became digital relics with no buyers. For some, it was a speculative loss. For others, a lesson in hype cycles. But for many, the virtual closet just became quieter. No physical asset meant no fallback. The community thinned. Discord servers emptied. Wallets grew dusty. The crash revealed a truth. Value in virtual goods is entirely propped up by belief, in tech, in status, and in each other. When that belief wavers, the value evaporates. But Nike wasn't playing for short-term headlines. In 2019, it filed a patent for something called Crypto Kicks, a system combining blockchain, loyalty, and digital design. The goal? Not just NFTs, but a new model of ownership. In November 2022, it launched Swoosh, a Web3 platform where fans could design and buy digital shoes, with plans to tie them into games and physical perks. Nike saw more than a trend. It saw a new layer of its brand, not just on your feet, but on your digital self. Even during the crash, Nike kept building, because for them, this wasn't about JPEGs, it was about infrastructure. For decades, brands have offered points, punch cards, and promo codes, but NFTs opened the door to programmable loyalty, tokens that could verify identity, unlock perks, and carry resale value. For Nike, that meant a new way to reward superfans, not just with discounts, but with gated experiences, early access, or even real-world events. Instead of holding a receipt, you held a key. This redefined loyalty, not just passive earning, but active participation. Brands weren't just selling to you, they were inviting you in. And once inside, the game changed. Loyalty became something you could trade, show off, or build your identity around. So, who paid for digital sneakers? It wasn't just sneakerheads. The buyers came from 4 overlapping tribes. First, the crypto investors, chasing the next big flip. Then, the Gen Z gamers, digital natives already used to skins and avatars. Next, speculative traders, treating NFTs like penny stocks. And finally, brand superfans, people who genuinely loved Nike and wanted to be first in line for whatever came next. This strange coalition didn't share a single motive, but they shared a belief. That value could be virtual. For them, pixels weren't playthings. They were portfolio pieces, identity markers, or tickets into culture. Counterfeiting costs the fashion industry billions each year. For luxury brands, proving authenticity has always been a game of tags, holograms, and receipts. Blockchain changed that. NFTs created a tamper-proof chain of ownership, from origin to resale, solving a decades-old problem with code. Nike's crypto kicks weren't just digital toys. They were experiments in verification. And while they may not stop street-level knockoffs, the concept has legs. Imagine a world where every pair of Jordans has a digital twin, a blockchain-verified certificate that proves it's real, rare, and yours. That's not hype, that's insurance. Something strange happened on the way to the NFT boom. The meaning of ownership shifted. Buyers didn't just want things, they wanted to belong. NFT projects began offering access to private chats, parties, or collaborations. Some even resembled social clubs, status determined not by wealth alone, but by wallet content. Brands like Nike leaned into this shift, treating NFTs as backstage passes into culture. It wasn't about showing off what you had. It was about who you were now a part of. Ownership became membership, and membership in turn became the product. NFTs aren't all glow and code. In 2021, the environmental backlash was loud, and in many cases, justified. Most NFTs ran on Ethereum, which then used a proof-of-work system requiring massive computing power. Critics compared a single NFT transaction to days of household electricity use. But things have shifted. Ethereum moved to proof-of-stake in September 2022, cutting its energy use by over 99%. And brands like Nike have started minting on greener chains like Polygon. The carbon cost hasn't disappeared, but it's shrinking. The question now isn't whether NFTs are wasteful, it's whether they're worth their weight in watts, given their growing utility. For most of human history, possessions were physical. You could touch them, wear them, pass them down. But today, millions of people spend real money on digital items that don't physically exist, and yet, emotionally, they absolutely do. From custom skins in Fortnite to rare NFTs and in-game furniture in Animal Crossing, these virtual goods satisfy real psychological needs. They offer self-expression, status, creativity, and even comfort. When people decorate a virtual room or collect a digital shoe, it isn't about pixels, it's about identity. We value these things not because they're tangible, but because they make us feel seen, unique, and part of something. In the old economy, you bought a product that happened to come with a brand. In the new economy, you often buy the brand itself. The logo is the product. With digital goods, there's no material utility to fall back on. No one is buying virtual Nikes because they need arch support. They're buying into what the swoosh represents: exclusivity, taste, insider status. Brands have always been about storytelling, but now the story is all that remains. When scarcity is artificial and materials are non-existent, meaning becomes the only currency. And in that game, branding is everything. The internet made copying effortless. One click and a file becomes a million identical clones. So how do you create value when duplication is free? NFTs tried to answer that with blockchain-backed scarcity. Even if everyone can see the image, only one person can own it. That sense of ownership is what collectors pay for, not the pixels, but the permission. It's the digital version of owning the Mona Lisa. Millions can view it, but only the Louvre holds the original. This isn't about the object, but the social contract around it. And for many, that contract is worth real money. In this new reality, fashion isn't just about how you look. It's becoming a financial instrument. Digital wardrobes aren't just expressive, they're assets. In some virtual worlds, owning rare items can boost your status or unlock exclusive experiences. But there's a deeper shift. Your clothing could soon be tied to your digital ID, your creditworthiness, even your access to communities. It's not far-fetched to imagine a world where your digital sneakers are tied to your online reputation, a kind of virtual resume. What we wear online is merging with who we are and what we're worth. Every generation laughs at the digital habits of the next until they become the norm. Remember when people mocked buying ringtones, or paying for extra lives in Candy Crush, or spending hours curating an Instagram grid? Each of these once sounded absurd. Now they're everyday behavior. The move to digital sneakers and NFT clothing may feel like a leap, but it follows a familiar pattern. We resist, then adopt, then forget we ever doubted. Culture always evolves faster than we expect. What feels ridiculous today often becomes tomorrow's new normal. So is this all just a big illusion? Maybe. But illusions can still be powerful. If millions of people find meaning in digital goods, does it really matter that they're not physical? Maybe the value of a thing isn't in what it is, but in what we agree it means. A wedding ring is just metal until we decide it symbolizes love. A designer bag is just leather until we treat it like status. NFTs and virtual fashion might be nothing in the material sense, but they can still be everything emotionally. The illusion, in other words, is real if enough people believe in it. In the end, what we're really buying isn't a shoe. It's a story, a signal, a stake in a cultural moment. The glowing sneaker box is empty in the literal sense, but full of meaning for those who choose to see it. It promises access, belonging, even a glimpse of the future. And for brands, that promise is more powerful than any physical product. We're entering an era where ownership isn't about possession, but participation. What's inside the box is not a sneaker. It's our willingness to believe in what it represents. That belief, more than anything, is what companies are selling, and what many of us are buying. We used to ask, why would anyone pay for something they can't touch? Now we live in a world where what's visible, shareable, and verified means more than what's real. Nike's virtual sneakers weren't just a flex, they were a sign of what comes next. In a world of infinite content, maybe the scarcest thing left is meaning, and brands, more than ever, are ready to sell it. So what's really in the box? Not sneakers, not pixels, not even a digital asset. It's something we've always paid for, just in a new shape. Identity, access, belief. If that sounds strange, remember, we've bought stranger things. If this story gave you something to think about, subscribe for more. Hit the like button and let's talk in the comments. Here's one to start with. If ownership no longer means holding a thing, what does it mean to own anything at all? And if you thought buying virtual shoes was wild, wait until you find out how plain old sand became the next billion-dollar resource. That story's right here, and it's even weirder.